Hello everyone, this is Twilight, and I'm going to be doing a quick run through of one of the BattleQuest solo encounters, and I'm going to split this up into 3 videos, and this first video is just going to be kind of an overview of the character that I'm going to try to run it with, as well as kind of how BattleQuest works, and all of those things. So essentially, it's almost uh, a little bit like Gloomhaven in that the monsters that you'll be fighting will be automatically doing one set of attack that's written down. Essentially, you are going through and playing kind of normal multiplayer BattleCon rules, with the one exception, however, is your life total specifically stays the same in each room you go to. Um, your force will get reset. You'll be able to reset your discard piles and all that. Um, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how it works. But before we get into that, what you get to do when you choose a character is uh, you get to arm yourself with information. And for the one that we'll be doing, which is Baroness Incella's Crypt, you get 100 gold of supplies from the armory. It says try to survive with even less goals for an additional challenge. That'll actually probably be pretty true. I ran this through once, but got a few rules wrong. But to be honest, I don't expect a lot of problems. My build actually seems pretty well used. So here you have your consumables. These are items that are destroyed when they're used. You can ante them to get an effect. Some of the effects are actually pretty solid. I don't have strikers, so we won't be using henchmen. Custom armor is stuff that will get you additional life, will increase your life cap. Custom weapons is actually super interesting. So for 10 gold, you could get an additional regular base. For 10 gold, you can swap any base in your kit for its corresponding beta base, right? For 20 gold, you can swap a base for its EX base, and for 50 gold, you can swap a base in your kit for its corresponding Almighty base. Then we get to relics. These are pretty absurd. So the contract is 75 gold out of 100, and you get the super multiplayer bonus card and all the bonuses that come with it. If you haven't seen the super multiplayer bonus card, it's pretty absurd. So it starts off here, right? So it says you have 30 life and 5 force for setup. Your maximum force is 20. Great. But when you flip it over, so you get a static +2 power, +1 prio with tiebreaker. Tiebreaker won't matter since the player always wins ties, but you also get a static +3 guard. Additionally, you can ante each overload tile 2 times in one beat. Now, we will definitely be choosing this for our character, which, as you can see over here, will be Hepzibah. But before we go into that, there's also trinkets. Trinkets are a little bit like consumables in that they're anti-items. However, they're permanent and they stay with you. So for 10 gold, you can get a healing stone, which is regain 1 life. And some of these others are actually really solid too. But as I'm playing Hepzibah, I spent 75 gold for the super card. I bought a healing stone for 10 gold, and then I'm actually going to get these sprint shoes over here for 15 gold. So that's my 100 for this setup for Hepzibah. But one thing I wanted to also just kind of highlight as another possibility is you could play somebody like Cadenza, right? And Cadenza has, everyone knows Clockwork Shot, but it turns out we can actually do one better than Clockwork Shot. So for 50 gold, we can upgrade our shot, or we could even upgrade, say, a Grasp, for instance, or what? Yeah, let's go with a Grasp, because you swap any base in your kit for its corresponding Almighty base. So we could buy another shot for 10, and then swap it for the EX version, or the Almighty version for 50. So that would be 60 gold. We buy another shot, and then we could get Cannon. Cannon is 2 to 6, 3 damage, 4 prio, 3 guard, and it does multi-attack. It hits each fighter inside the range individually, and then you get to advance or retreat 1. So we could start out every room with Clockwork Cannon, which would be definitely an option, right? Additionally, Cadenza has problems with movement, so you could also then spend, at that 60 gold, you could spend another 10 to swap your strike for counter, which is a beta base. But if you look, because we're Cadenza, we don't really care about our priority as much, but this counter is has advanced 1 to 2 on it. Also, armor 1, not irrelevant for Cadenza, but it gives us yet more movement. So that would be 50, 60, 70, and then we could spend 30 to increase our life to 35. And that could be another possibility, just opening up on Clockwork Cannon every time, which I think is probably something that is either really good or really bad. I'm not really sure. All right. So now I'm going to show you a little bit about how this works, and then I'm going to actually go through the first few rooms in the first video, and then I'll go through the second, or the last back half of the room in the second video. So it starts off here with, we'll be in this room here, which is, we start in the zombie room. So our character starts here. There's a zombie here. There's a zombie here. There's a zombie here. And there's a zombie here. Right? And we would choose what our attack pair would be, and they have a set amount, or a set series of attacks, which would depend on the token they get. It is worth noting that they have, so we can see here they have 3 health, right? Their 1 through 3 attack is called Shamble. It's range 1, attack 1, prio 0, guard 0, and before activating advance 1. Their 4 to 5 attack is Lunge, which is range 1, attack 1, 3 prio, 0 guard, advance 2. And then if they hit a 6, they Bite, which is range 1, attack 4, prio 6, guard 4. So in this, just as an example, in this first room, we're only really worried about getting hit by bites. So, like, this is the one we would be worrying about. And we can do that by hitting prio, or beat that by hitting prio 6 or more. But for when we would choose our attack pair, we would then choose their attack pair by shuffling up these. These all have a number 1 through 6 on them. They don't shuffle very well, but we put these here. And then we would flip over to see. So this one has a 3. It would use Shamble. This one would use Lunge. This one is going to use Shamble. And this one is going to use Lunge as well. And the lunges are going to happen first before the Shamble. So it is interesting to note that we are probably getting hit by something for 1 damage, almost assuredly. So these 2 would go first. Depending on our attack pair, most likely we would be killing one of these by going before it. But it would advance 2, hit for 1. This would advance 2, miss. And then the Shambles could not advance, would hit for 1, and then this would advance 1. So that is pretty much how that goes. And there are rooms that you'll see have different types of enemies. There are different types of attacks, but that's the basic gist of it. And before I go into the second video, I just wanted to give you a quick example of why I chose Hepzibah in this setup for my run through. And so here's our super card. And Hepzibah's ability is she has 5 packs. During her ante, she can spend a life to activate a pack, and during recycle, she deactivates all packs. And I'll show you what the packs do. And the packs here get pretty interesting. So how Hepzibah plays normally in regular BattleCon is that you get to have really big beats where you could ante all 5 of your packs if you wished, right? And let's go through what her packs do. Her most broken pack before this iteration, Corruption, no longer is broken. In previous versions, it used to ignore Stun Guard, which is absurd. Now it's just hit chip 1. I don't plan on using Corruption very much in this dungeon, just because I'll probably be discarding it if I get hit with a Cursed, which we'll go over a little bit. Immortality. is just armor 2. I plan to use this quite frequently. If you just even think about how that previous room went, armor 2 is actually going to completely stop me from taking any damage in that room unless I get hit specifically by a bite. So, my plan for room 1 is make sure this one can't bite me, and anti-immortality for the armor 2 is going to prevent me from taking any damage whatsoever. Almighty just gives you +2 power. Endless gives you +2 prio. And Inevitable gives you +0 to 1 range. Now, spending life for all of those would ordinarily seem like a bad plan, especially when life carries over, so any life I spend is actually going to be a problem. But if you've never seen Hephzibah's kit before, along with that life stone, we're actually going to be pretty okay. So looking at her styles here, so we have Necrotizing. Most of her styles have minus power, but once again, because we have this super, that's not usually going to matter for us too much. So 0 to 2, -1 power, and then I can spend 1 to 3 life on hit for +1 power each. There are big monsters, which you'll likely see in the second video, and this is going to let me hit them for a preposterous amount. Anathema is pretty similar to Necrotizing in that it gets +1 power and +1 prio on reveal per active pack, up to a maximum of 3, but otherwise it's 0, -1, -1, and 0. Accursed is the one that I was mentioning earlier with Corruption. So it's 0 to 1, it's -1 power, but it has stun immunity. It's also got armor 2, and when you're hit, you have to trash a pack that is either inactive or active. And then we get to some of the reasons why we chose Hephzibah to begin with. So this has 0 range, -1 power, -1 prio, but at the start, if you have 2 or more active packs, you regain 2 life. So let's let you get your packs for free. And at the end, you choose a pack, and it cannot be deactivated this beat. So for instance, this is a great way to get Corruption up, and then, or not Corruption, to get Immortality up, and then leave Immortality for the second one. And then Darkheart is just on hit, so it's 0 power, which, if you've seen the rest of her kit, is actually one of her stronger styles. The hit Trash Run Force from the opponent won't matter very much at all. In fact, I don't believe it will do anything. But on hit, we regain 2 life. And those zombies had 3 power. So just as an example, if we're always having the super card active, Darkheart's going to let us regain 2 life, and we may not even ante a pact with it, just to keep this will be like the engine as we go through. We're going to regain 2 life, just to keep our health high. And then finally, we get to Bloodlight. Bloodlight is, in fact, the reason that I wanted to choose Hephzibah. It's almost a shot. It's range 1 to 3. It does 2 damage at prio 3 with 0 guard. But keep in mind, we will have this regardless, so it'll be doing 4 damage. And if we have 1 or more active packs, we can regain 2 life. So just as an example here, one possible thing that we could be doing is we'll start something off with a pack bond, right, to get Immortality up and keep it up for next turn. Right? And then we get to do, it could even just be Anathema Bloodlight to gain 2 life that way. Or, and then we follow it up with Darkheart something, not anteing any packs, and suddenly, we've regained a grip of life and head armor. So that's my plan going through. I don't expect too many problems. We will be choosing Seal the Pact for our finisher. It won't matter. We don't plan on using our finisher at all. If we do, there's a major problem. Altazar is fine in single player, but it sets your life to 1 at the start of the beat, which is definitely not something that we want. This has armor 2 and lets us trash 2 forests to activate a pact instead. The last part here is for the super card. One odd thing to note is you gain more force if your life is at certain levels. And since we start at 30 life, so once we get to just above half life, we start regaining 2 force a turn. I don't expect this to matter very much. When in a previous playthrough, you kind of just steamroll through the first. They're supposed to just kind of grind you down. And in the last half, you have bigger monsters, but uh, I'm not anticipating really any problems until we get finally to the end boss, which would be Baroness Ancilla herself. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get set up, and I'll see you in the second video where we start the first room for Baroness Ancilla's Crypt. Thanks.